Okay, so I'm going to be looking at the first drive of the Buffalo Steeler game, wild card, AFC wild card game. The first drive by Buffalo, they went 10 plays, got a touchdown. Why am I doing this? Well, it wasn't because it was such an incredible game. This was a really good drive to start the playoffs for Buffalo. A really good drive by first time coordinator for them, Joe Brady. And I thought there were a lot of teaching moments in it, and especially on the breakdowns on the Steelers defense. So the schemes on both sides, what the players did on both sides, and also a teaching moment with Tony Romo once again, who was basically at one point during the drive saying that Buffalo wouldn't run the ball if Hayward was in the game. And now they were running the ball because Hayward's out of the game. And then when he was back in, they wouldn't run it. My God, that had nothing to do with anything. And Romo, for as great as he is, or as he was as a player and as a quarterback when he was, and incredible that he came from such a small school and did great in the NFL. He obviously could read defenses. He obviously knows a lot about football, and I would venture to say more than I do. He certainly knows a lot more about playing professional football and then in the NFL. I played in college. I did not play in the NFL. So you would know me if I did, I guess. Actually, you don't know everybody who played in the NFL, but Romo was actually a star. He was a great quarterback. So he knows his stuff. I'm not taking away from any of that, but he just gets carried away as a commentator and says a lot of wild things. And I just have to for anybody who's willing to listen, I need to correct that a little bit. But other than that, the main goal of these next 10 vids are to show you how it went down on that first drive and the cool stuff that's going on with Joe Brady and what Tomlin's trying to do. And though his players aren't in line with it, and why that could be. And also, one big breakdown, because I talk a lot about Tampa stuff. And everybody, well, not everybody, but people kind of know what a Tampa 2 is. That's when, that was invented long ago by Monty Kiffin and Tony Dungy. And actually, Mike Tomlin was coached under these guys, so that's why he knew this defense really well. And it's basically, actually, it started way back before that when Tony Dungy was on the Steelers as a player. And they were starting to take Jack Lambert at middle linebacker because he was so fast and athletic and so aware on the field and aware of the scheme he was in. Bud Carson started doing this. You could race him back because when they did two safeties deep to cover two, there was always a hole in the middle, and people were starting to exploit that. And Jack Lambert would race back really deep and almost turn it into a cover three, but it was a pseudo. It was still a cover two, but with someone covering the hole. And sometimes Lambert would race, if a guy went down deep down the middle, Lambert would race with him. Now that's tough. If a guy, so, you've got to watch that. So you can't use this all the time, but people are starting to bring it back. It was starting to, Tampa 2 would actually take care of that whole area. And then everybody started exploiting that, so then you can put DBs in there to take care of that whole area, but then you can power the run game against the DB. So you put the linebacker back in for the run game, and now they can exploit the hole by sending a guy really deep down the middle. So they stopped doing so much Tampa stuff, but now they're bringing it back as a variety in the play calling and the scheme and the overall game plan, to have it as a variety element you can use. Well, the other issue with it is, even so, they can still beat it. So what you start to do is do Tampa 7s in addition to Tampa 2 and even Tampa 5s. Okay, well, I'm not going to really go over the Tampa 5 in this because we don't see it. But I will go over Tampa 2 versus Tampa 7 as a good learning experience, a learning thing in here for that too. And then just to start us off, I just want to show this. I love this, how they clean up a blizzard. So this was the blizzard in Buffalo on Sunday. And this is a time lapse, obviously, of 24 hours of them trying to clean it up. The snow stopped a bit, then it started up again, and then it stopped. And look at it, they can't keep up with it. But you can see here in the seats, there's still not a ton of snow. So, look how bad it gets though. Look, okay, so they can't keep up because it's still snowing, and then watch the heavy stuff. There it comes. The heavy stuff starting to come. Watch the seats. Right, this is nighttime, and then boom, look at the seats cover up. Now the seats are all covered up. It's just, maybe it's the wind direction, whatever. But they just never had a break, and that's kind of why they didn't want to play the game. They just couldn't have a break. And finally, it's just completely blanketed, seats and field. Then they finally had a break, and it happens fast. Just shows you the skills we have now on the equipment. As soon as, there it is, snow stopped, and boom, look how fast it's coming. Look at that. Boom. And you still have the seats covered. Look at that. But the seats, they didn't show that part, but they get to the seats eventually. And now it looks like this. And you still have snow around, but not on the seats for the most part. Though I heard that there were still snow on the seats, and they were throwing snowballs all over the place. I think a snowball almost hit one of the receivers in the end zone at one point, which was kind of funny, not cool, but it actually is kind of funny. All right, anyway, so they're totally, good stuff. Anyway, all right, so I'll come back with the vids of the actual game on the field.